Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to our latest 10 handmade cards, 1 homemade kit. And this is process video number 2 where I'm going to show cards number 6 through 10. And we're going to start off with our card number 6 will be a slimline card. And I'm starting off with the white cardstock as my card base, and then I decided to put this purple one just to make that pattern paper with the floral stand out. Otherwise, because the background of that paper is white as well, it just feels like it's just going to blend right into the card base. So I decided to add a little bit of purple that I just grabbed from my scrap stash, so it's not necessarily part of the kit, but then I just needed that buffer in between. So now I have die cut that word happy, the Heidi Swap happy die that I had pulled out specifically for this particular kit. And I had cut out that word in different colors. My idea was to do a rainbow of it. And because this 6x6 paper pad that I used for the die cut already has adhesive in the back, it actually made the process really fast because I didn't have to add any adhesives in the back. Now, there's been times where I have used this specific cardstock where later on the item that I had used or that I had cut or that particular paper had come out of whatever project I was adhering it to. So next time if that happens, then I will definitely redo it. But this time around, I'm just gonna go with the flow here. Now, as I'm looking at the video, it seemed like the letters would stand out against the pattern paper, but for some reason when I was making this, it just seems like it was blending and there was a little bit of kind of conflict between the pattern paper and the cardstock happy. So I decided to just sneak in some vellum in between that, and I really like how that turned out. Now the front of the card just said a bunch of happy, and I figured I can add a sentiment inside to complete the saying, and I will just spell birthday here so that it'll be happy birthday. Now I have this colorful pattern paper. It's just a scrap, and I'm going to put that on the bottom just to make that just to add a little bit color on there. And card number 6 is done. Now I guess I'm going to add some little hearts too. Now you notice that I had cut 2 of the happy in each one just because I do some kind of what's the word I'm looking for? But I do the process in batches, and so I figured I can cut 2 in each of the 3x3 or I think it's 4x4 paper, and so that I don't have to cut it again later on when I'm ready to use it. So I do have just a few, or maybe just 2 of those happy that's left over, but that's totally fine because I can use that for a lot of different cards anyways later on. Okay, so for card number 7, the inspiration for this actually came from that pot of hearts that you see on the right side. That's the inspiration for this, but as you can see also, it's a very small element, and so I figured I can enlarge that idea and then put that on the card as basically the kind of main focus of the card front. And so I'm going to be combining pattern papers and a little bit of die cut hearts as well and onto this kind of orange mustard card base. And I'm just kind of creating my background here with some papers, and then I'm going to add that striped paper, and I'm just going to add a strip of that. And then I decided that I'm going to create my pot with this pattern paper. Now, when I was creating this, I really didn't do any measurements. I'm just going to eyeball it. And that's fine with me because at the end it worked out okay anyway. So here I notice that the pot that I am referencing to has, a kind of a V shape but flat on the bottom, and so that's what I'm trying to create here. And I guess if I was more precise, I should have like did some calculations to make sure that the both sides are even, but I don't know, I'm not too worried about that. So now I'm going to add my cardstock hearts. Now the heart that I used is a die that's part of my favorite things blueprints die set, the one which I've been using for my scallop backgrounds. They have a heart there, and so that's what I'm using. And I did use those 4x4 cardstock pack so that the back side of all of those hearts already have adhesive. So now I just wanted to decorate that pot with a few more of the stickers, with the stamp and die cut images from the art impressions set that I have been using all throughout the cards. And I decided to do that kind of subtle heart background as the top piece of my card because I felt like if I were to do anything that's too busy, my heart, which is like the hearts that goes in the pot, will not stand out. And so I made sure that I picked a not so a paper that doesn't have too much design on it. And I'm just using my liquid glue so that I can adhere all of that decorations on the pot. And that heart banner that I added on the top actually like worked for my advantage because then it covered up kind of like the imperfection or the not so straight look of my pot. So I like the angle of it. It worked out really good. So now I'm adhering my hearts and I'll move that around because I wanted to see the tips of my heart so that I can, when I add the lines to make it seem like they're like heart flowers or a flower on a stick, or sorry, a heart on a stick, that I will be able to do that. It will look better when it has those lines because, like I said, my inspiration piece has that straight line and then it also has some leaves. Now, at the very end, I was thinking, well, maybe it needs some leaves, but then I didn't cut any leaves and I don't have like a small leaf punch. And so I was kind of mulling over how I can add that, but then later on I will add something else. So now I'm just using my Creative Memories black pen and a ruler to create those straight lines going towards, of course, the pot. See, this is where I'm like, I need some leaves, I need something, because right now it's just sticks, but then I will think about that in a little bit. But right now I am going to tackle my sentiment, and I'm just going to go with Sending Love, which is the same stamp set that I used in one of my cards in the first batch of this, in the first video. If you have not seen that one, I will try to remember to link that in the description box below. Otherwise, you can always go to my channel and there's a playlist that's 10 handmade cards that you can always go to so you can catch all of the rest of the handmade cards that I have made so far. To be honest with you, I don't know how many I have done. I know that there was a year, I think it's 2019, or yeah, I think it was 2019 where I was doing it every other month. So you know that there's at least 6 there, if not more than that, in that playlist. So make sure to check that out. Okay, so now I'm thinking this card could be done, but like I said, those kind of sticks that's sticking out on the heart just seems like it's missing something. And so here I'm going to just turn them into balloons. So I'm going to go ahead and add the strings to the balloons just to make it seem like, there's a purpose there. Or they're actually like something that would realistically be put in a pot. So now we're going to go on to card number 8. And this time around, I wanted to use the happy and I wanted something to back that up. Now, as you can see, there was this paper that was kind of like a pie chart type of thing. And it had a bunch of different hues or different colors of pink, variations of pink. And so I cut my solid paper or the circles out of that to make it look like they're actual solid paper. And then I also use, this is the first time that I'm using the scallop die that I had pulled out. They're from my, no, sorry, Simon Says stamp. And this is the first time that I'm using it in the kit. I should have pulled it out earlier, but I kind of forgot. But I'm using some silver paper for this so that it will stand out against the background. Okay, so I did speed up this process 4 times just because it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm using some pattern paper as the background, and then I'm using that yellow piece to go in the center, which will be where my circles will rest. And I think the yellow is the best way so that those pink will stand out, but then also it will have some image on or color and design on the background. Now this is where I'm going to add the letters to spell happy. And at first I was thinking I could have those bears sticking out, but then I felt like 3 of them just made it too much, especially with the size of the happy and the circles that I have in this A2 size card. So I'm just going to go with 2 for right now, and I don't even know where I'm going to place them just yet. I want to have kind of a subtitle for this and spell out birthday, and so I'm kind of trying to think. There's a lot of letters, there's a lot of design going on my background already, and so I kind of wanted something subtle, but it would still make the spelled out word birthday stand out. So I'm grabbing some of that leftover vellum from card number 6 and putting the birthday there. I will trim that out so that all you see is the birthday and the vellum piece that's behind it. Then I decided to cut notches on each end. Now that's not going to show too much on the busy background, but I just like that there's a little bit of a design. Now I'm adding some adhesive to the back of the letters, or the circles rather, but I'm not pushing them quite yet because I wanted to make sure that they are properly spaced in between, and so I wasn't pushing in too hard. Now at first I wanted to maybe put the birthday right in the center, but then I decided to go to the bottom right of the card instead. And then I'm going to add 2 of my bears. I think I did add some shine to that. I can't quite remember, but that was card number 8. Now we go on to card number 9. And when I created card number 1, it had that frame with the 3 squares or rectangles on the top and then this long panel on the bottom. Now I only needed the negative space of that frame, and so I have this 3 squares. I want to say they're more of triangles, but this 3, no, not triangles, rectangles. They're 3 positive pieces that's left over, and I wanted to use that up. I'm starting off with this scallop cut background, the floral kind, and the white A2 card base. And then I had cut out some more pattern paper, and I did pull out that green from my stash. Just like with the other ones that I created, I needed a buffer between pattern papers, and so I wanted to use some cardstock for that. Now I am going to put the 3 rectangles on this square piece, and then the circle on as well, to kind of create that, one is not like the other type of idea. And I am using 3 bears and a heart that's actually left over from another project that I created recently. Not this 10 handmade cards, but a different project that was using some hearts, because as you can see, this specific heart was a little bit different in shape than the one that I used for the heart potted or heart pot embellishment. And so now that I have my center, I am going, or the focal point, I'm going to add my sentiment, which I just spelled out missing you. I think it was appropriate with the way the embellishments was created. And so I'm just going to move things around to make sure that there's even spacing on the top and the bottom, as well as the left and the right. And I like to do that. That's why, like, when I put adhesive on the back, especially when I'm using ATG, I don't push on really hard until I am happy with the way it looks so that I can move them around if need be. And I am adding some finishing touches which is the rhinestones, and I will be adding some shimmer to the bears, and that will be card number 9. So if you are new to my channel, if you stumbled upon this video and don't know what it is, what I did was I had put together my own homemade card kit, and my goal always for the kit is to at least make 10 cards. Sometimes I make more, sometimes like 12, 10, no, 12, 11, 13, but the least amount will be 10, which is, I think it's a good number. And then it helps me to use up my stash. There's things that maybe like 6x6 paper pad that needs to be used up, like all the way finished, and so I would do that. But then there's also ones that maybe are products that are new to me that I've recently purchased that I want to quote unquote play with it, and so I use this series for that as well. Now with card number 10, this is another slimline card. The inspiration from this actually came from the 6x8 paper pad, where in the front it had a diagonal strip of all of the papers that's offered inside the pack. And so I thought that that would be a good way to use up some scraps, especially with the pattern papers. So I'm starting off with actually one of the back sides of the paper that I don't really care for. And I use that technique, especially with the paper pads, just so I can say that I used up all of the items in that pack. And I'm using some liquid glue for the very tips of this paper, just so that I will be able to adhere a few more papers there. And I'm just trimming off the excess so that I will have that diagonal panel as the front of my card. And I am using a purple cardstock as my card base. Again, this is a slimline card. I made 3 slimline cards out of this kit, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. I gotta say that I'm not big on like the hype of, or the, I don't usually like jump into a bandwagon right away or a trend right away, but I can see why the slimline cards kind of is getting traction, because it's a unique way of, or it's a different way of how we always make our cards, and the size is still pretty manageable. You can put that in a very common envelope, so it's not so hard. No, not like those square cards, or even 5x7 cards I think is not as popular, just because it's harder to get envelopes to it unless you make your own. So this one is just going to be happy birthday, and I'm just basically adding whatever is left over in my stash. Again, this is card number 10, so I'm kind of running not only out of products but also running out of steam of ideas, new ideas for each of the cards. I'm going to be adding 2 more bears here. I've said in a previous video that I was so in love with these bears that I ended up creating 15 of them. The beauty of this was that the stamp set had a die set, accompanying die set, and so it wasn't hard for me to cut out all of these items, because it would have been a pain if I had to cut them all by hand. So I'm just showing you what I have left over, and I do have a lot more. I have the gold, the silver, the rhinestones. These are all the paper that I've used. This is new to me, so I didn't expect to use it all up. I do have 2 card bases left because I decided to do more of the A2 size. I have 2 of those happy, of course, my mini stickers, and then just a handful of those stamped and die cut images. And this is what's left over of, I mean, not leftover, but this is a little recap of all the cards that I created. I want you to let me know which one is your favorite out of all of these cards. I would say my favorite, well, it's so hard to pick a favorite because I created all of them, but I do love the color scheme in this set. Oh, and that's my extra one. That is card number 11. I was just kind of cleaning up all of the leftovers, and I felt like I could use that I could create another card out of the leftovers. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys another day. Bye.